Wouldn't it be great if other people accepted you for you just as you are? It would be even better though if you accepted you for yourself just as you are. If your past mistakes are haunting you, regrets about decisions that you've made in your life or your relationships, even how you feel about your body image, too skinny, too fat, too short, too tall, you may think that you're too smart or too dumb or whatever. Self-acceptance and compassion are some of the key elements to a life full of well-being. In this video, we'll explore how the practice of mindfulness meditation can transform your relationship with yourself, fostering deep self-acceptance and inner peace. It's important to note that the practice I am specifically talking about is mindfulness meditation. I'm not talking about any other type of meditation or any other technique. I'm talking about mindfulness meditation. If you've ever practiced mindfulness meditation before, when you sit down, one thing that you may notice is that there are a barrage of thoughts that just constantly come up and flow and come up and flow. And often you get caught up in those thoughts. Your mind gets carried away into the past or into the future. This is something that a lot of people complain about. And in fact, there are many ancient metaphors that explain and talk about this experience. The flow of involuntary thoughts is like a fast moving waterfall. Those thoughts just come. The flow of involuntary thoughts are like bubbles from under the water that just flow up and pop on the surface, and more thoughts continue to flow. More bubbles continue to come. Some people even complain that they never had this many thoughts until they started meditating, but that's not true. Meditation, when you're practicing mindfulness meditation, you're sitting down in stillness, in silence, and at this point you actually get to observe your thoughts and you realize how many thoughts are actually flowing through your mind that you weren't previously conscious about. I want you to think about this experience though of these thoughts that constantly flow and consider, what does this mean? This means that your mind thinks. The mind just continuously generates thoughts all the time. Just like the heart beats, the mind thinks. And many of those thoughts are not within your control. The thoughts constantly come and go. You are not your thoughts. You've probably heard this from many walks of life. Let's quickly talk about the definition and the technique of mindfulness meditation. We can break this down into really just defining the two words. Mindfulness means to bear something in mind, to remember it, to recall it, to not forget. What are you bearing in mind in the practice of mindfulness meditation? It's called an object of attention. Meditation in this sense means to become familiar with, to open to. So what you're doing is becoming more familiar with your mind by settling the focus of your awareness on one object, one stimuli, one thing. And whenever the mind strays from that object of attention, going into the past, going into the future, being concerned about thoughts, memories, emotions, sensations, hopefully you realize that the mind has become distracted and you gently release the attachment that it has to that other thing and you bring it back to your object of attention. This is a training process, and over time, over weeks, months, years of practice, you'll learn to settle the focus of awareness on one object and the mind will not become distracted. But what does this mean regarding thoughts and self-acceptance and self-worth? If you think back to the experience that I talked about at the beginning of those thoughts constantly coming, along with the definition and the technique of this practice, what you truly learn, and even more than learn, you integrate into your being, is that thoughts are constantly going to come and go, and you do not need to identify with or attach onto or even push those thoughts away. You don't need to engage with them at all. As long as you don't engage with them, they appear, and they self-liberate. They come up and they go away all on their own. Once again, you are not your thoughts. In this process, you also learn not to become consumed with the content of the thoughts. As a metaphysical life coach, a lot of people come to me to improve their meditation practice, and a question is, how do I deal with negative thoughts? It's the same way that you would deal with positive thoughts. All thoughts are dealt with the same. You don't attach onto them, you don't push them away, you allow them to come up and you allow them to go away. So you're doing this practice on the cushion, you're doing this practice sitting down, you're learning to become familiar with these subtle states of mind, you're learning how the mind works, you are learning how not to attach onto any thought that comes into the mind. Now, when you're off the cushion, you hopefully are going to be benefiting from what you've learned. You'll notice that thoughts may come up in the mind and they may be very negative thoughts. But because you have practiced and trained yourself to not attach onto those thoughts, not to be concerned with the content of those thoughts, and to just allow them to self-liberate, allow them to release, you can do that when you're not on the cushion. So you have thoughts that come up about your past mistakes, about what so-and-so said about you, or about your body image, or about how you feel about your decisions. And you learn that attaching onto those thoughts is not going to make you feel any better. Attaching to those thoughts is not going to change the fact that those thoughts are coming up. And in fact, the best thing that you can do is allow them to self-liberate, and then you have a choice. With mindfulness, you have a choice on what you do and how you respond. You don't have to engage with those thoughts. You don't have to respond to them. You don't have to be obsessed about those thoughts and continue to engage with them, because all that does is make more of those thoughts come and you feel even worse. So you get the choice to what you do. Without mindfulness, you're just automatically consumed with the thoughts, automatically obsessed with them. The focus of your awareness is pushed and pulled and dragged here and there. And the worst part is you don't even know that that's what you're doing, because you're so caught up in everything. When you practice mindfulness meditation, you learn acceptance. You learn self-acceptance. You learn that you are not those thoughts that your mind just continuously generates. You learn that you don't have to attach your identity and identify with negative thoughts about your past, about your self-image, about how society feels that you should be or you should not be, and that you have a choice. You have a choice on your actions, on your habits, on your behaviors, whereas when you're not mindful, you don't have that choice. You learn that you can direct the focus of attention to where you want and need it to go, such as focusing on the positive qualities and the positive aspects of your life, which are completely valid. If you're only focusing on the negative things and you're focusing without conscious control, then you are completely ignoring all of the positive, beautiful, wonderful things about yourself. You are worthy of love and acceptance and compassion, of abundance and prosperity, and all of the goodness that life has for you. So I would definitely encourage you to begin your practice of mindfulness meditation today. If you're interested in doing that, you should go ahead and join my Patreon. For $5 a month, I'm teaching you progressive stages of mindfulness meditation. We have 1 to 2 live classes a month. Following each class, you get a guided practice that you will continue to engage with daily in order to train your mind until the next class. We're working from the ground up, step by step. And you also get access to Patreon exclusive guided meditations, guided visualizations, journaling activities, and so much more. I also facilitate private self-care practices 2 to 4 times a month where we engage in mindfulness meditation, yoga nidra, journaling, goal setting, EFT tapping, breath work, and so much more. I also have another resource for you, and this is my free mindfulness meditation resources guide. This guide contains the replay to my 1.5-hour intro class on mindfulness meditation called the 10 Steps to Clearing Your Mind with Meditation. It also has journaling activities to help you find your own focus and inspiration to begin or deepen your mindfulness meditation practice, as well as suggested readings. I'm going to include the links to both of those resources in the description box below, so go ahead and check them out. While you're down there, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. And in the meantime, here are 2 more videos that YouTube thinks that you would enjoy.